Hi, everybody. How are you? Let me go live on Instagram first. Um, okay. Uh, why is it not going live? Give me 1 second. Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. How are you? How was your weekend? Kathleen, Z, Robin, Simply JJ. I am Claudia, Z, Marie, Carol, Amy, Robin. You went to BTS movie yesterday. Z, Carol, Dawn Marie, Rachel, A Brown, Reg, Carmi, Rainstorm, Sue, Pia, Nigma, Linax, Tracy, Anna, Saskia, Amy, Gemini, Salmart, Warren, Taylor, OSP, Juveline, Arlene, Dawn Marie, Ras, Bob, Nigma. Hi, everybody. How's your weekend? Are you having a great weekend? 7 a.m. here in Manila. Oh, wow. Okay. Is everything okay in Manila? I hear so much about what's happening in the political spectrum of my country, my other country. How are you, Bang Luna? Hello. Philo Chill, Belle, Carla Girl, Rachel, Alta, Kez, Tracy, Charisse, Christy, Wonder Human, Pau, Senri, Juveline, Joe, magandang umaga. Okay, let's give other people like a minute or two to join. Good afternoon from Mexico. Kugi, hi. It's the middle of the week. Kugi, so you speak Spanish? I have a question. Do you guys find the translation? So I usually turn on the automatic uh English English to whatever language, many other languages translation in YouTube. Is that useful for you guys? Or you don't even turn on the translation? Ashtik, hi. From Greece. Oh wow. Aggie. Hi everyone. Isn't it like early morning in Greece? Carol, just the tea, please. Donna, hi. Glad to see you. Can't wait to see the pics of our handsome. I don't know if I'll get to that, but we'll try to discuss it as fast as I could. Have some things to cover. Good taste on RM Live. So much to unpack as he shared so much. Yeah. So I did publish a video of that. So I sort of talked about half of the things. You know, RM, like if he talks, he says one sentence and there's like 100 things to unpack. So I talked about a little of how his words landed on me. And then we'll talk about the other half now. For me, it's good the translation. Okay, he told me. Okay. Helena, Angel Star, emotional support pictures are must. I have some. Okay. We'll try to get to it as much as we could. Okay. I have an appointment tomorrow. Not for a haircut, but I have a separate appointment tomorrow. But hopefully by Wednesday I'll have a different haircut. It's so long, it's already up to my waist. And I don't know if you guys know, but for the old timers, you would know that I donate my hair. So I would cut it very, very short, let it grow long, and then donate it to kids that's suffering from cancer with cancer, and then they turn it into a wig so that the kids can actually use it, or just people with cancer. So they turn it into a wig. So if you guys want to do that, the I am Claudia, you don't usually use the subtitles. Okay. All right. Okay, so for if you guys want to do that, it's one way to actually help do some sort of a charity without having to spend. You can donate your hair. So it has to be at least 5 inches long. And then but the longer the better, of course. So it has to be at least 5 inches long, and you cannot bleach it. Although, if you're coloring it, for as long as it's not a bleach, that's fine. If you do color it, you have to send it to Pantene first because they are the ones that will clean it up. So there's a form you fill up. You just tell them, okay, I colored my hair. It's not a bleach. Then, then they'll clean it up and then they'll send it to people, the organization that actually makes it or turns it into a wig for uh, people with cancer. So that's one way to help if you want. But as I've said, you can't bleach it. So Silver K Popper is on X. Hi there. Okay. I wonder how many people actually watch me on X. Is that Locks of Love? Yeah. So, but if you send it to Locks of Love if it doesn't need cleaning. You can send it to them directly. But if you need to clean it, you need to send it to Pantene first. And some other organizations, there are other organizations that can actually clean it. It's Pantene is the one that's most like common. Well, I've been using it. That's where I've been sending my hair for the longest time because I color it black, but I dye it black, but I don't bleach it. So, because I have if I don't I think you've seen it, like, I have a lot of I've had silver hair for, like, since I was in high school, so it's in my genes. So, you have to donate it, you have to give it to you have to send it to Pantene first, they'll clean it, and then they'll send it to Locks of Love, and they're the ones that actually make it to a tran transform it into a wig. You color it. It's okay if you color for as long as you're not bleaching. You can do that. So, yeah, so that's one. And then another way for you if you want to um sort of help for charity without having to spend is to just go to a shelter, to an animal shelter, and you can walk the dogs. You can walk as many dogs as you want. If you can handle 2 to 3 in a walk, that would be great. Even just 30 minutes would be great for the dogs to get out of their cages because the employees don't necessarily always have the time to walk them. So you just go there, you do it once a week or as often as you want. Maybe if you have your own dog, you can take your dog and then go to the shelter so that you walk your dog and also walk the other dogs if you want. Thank you, Fire Butterfly, for your adventures since you do so much for us. Thank you so much, Fire Butterfly. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, oh wow, Rachel, thank you so much. I'm a 10-time cancer survivor. Well, you don't have it anymore. We're claiming it. You don't have it anymore. You will not have it anymore. You're good to go. We'll declare it. Please send all the positive energy you can Rachel's way. Okay, you're a few minutes late. That's okay. I was actually giving people some time to join before I start. Okay, where do we start? So just those are just some tips. If you want to be able to help without having to spend. I know it's tough for a lot of people, or a lot of people are actually in, you have injuries or whatever. Those are the things you can do. Donate your hair. Of course, if you have old stuff, you can always donate it to wherever. And then, but if you're like me, because I have so little, I don't accumulate a lot of stuff. There's not much for me to donate either. Actually, not last week, but I think 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, I didn't even know that the daily uh, sneakers that I have, the one that I use for, like, if I want to go play fetch with my dog, it has a hole on the bottom. And someone like poked me or something. But anyway, that's the only time I realized it was like there's a hole on it already, on the sole of it. So I had to replace it. So I really don't accumulate a lot. So it's tough for me to have like to donate because a lot of my stuff are so old. So just a background, the winter jacket that I use has been my winter jacket for 7 years. And then I have some shirts and some stuff that have been with me since the beginning of time, the beginning of time, since I moved here. So I had it from when I was in the Philippines, and that was like 14 years ago. 13 years ago, 14. So went here and it's still with me. So I really don't accumulate a lot. Like my bed sheets it's there for as long as it's working and whatever. So donating for me is tough because I don't have a lot. So the hair though works, and also just going to the shelter, once, even if it's once a month, actually, that'll help. When you're walking your dog or when you have a free time and you just want to walk around instead of just walking around, get a dog with you. Okay. You keep things forever. Yeah. I'm not a wasteful person, which I'm grateful for because that's one less spend for me. I usually buy good things and keep them forever. Yes, yeah, coats, bags. I don't have a lot of purses. I don't have a lot of bags. Like I think five. One I reserve for formal stuff, like if I need to attend something a little bit more formal, which I don't do a lot. And all of my purses are like, I think the most expensive would be that. What's that? I forget the it's not very expensive. I think it's like $90. And then the rest are like 20 or whatever. So not a lot for me to. How do I donate to your channel, Maria? Thank you so much for asking. You can um use a okay, I'll paste it here 1 second. There are different ways of doing it. One would be through a link. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, people. Let me just send it to her. Give me 3 minutes. And then I'll start with everything. There's a lot. Okay, 1 second. Okay, I have it. Here you go. I think I have a shoe older than some people in this chat. I definitely have shirts and pants that are older than some people. I don't know that. But I have like more than a decade old. You're welcome, Maria. Okay, my charity is a monthly donation to a Planned Parenthood, which runs clinics for people who need female care. Okay, any kind of donation would help. Financial donation is definitely a great because that's really, the world runs on money. But for you who don't have a lot, I don't have a lot. I just try to do what I can, right? And especially like hair is so valuable, right? Because they can do synthetic hair, but natural hair is actually better. It really withstands a lot of things. So, okay. Okay, so yeah, that's one. And then for all those that are a member of my Patreon, if you're a paying member, you do know that we are supporting a little girl back in the Philippines. So we have money set aside all the way until he finishes high school. So you already are helping. Okay, let's start with 20-year-old snow boots. Wow. Okay, let's start heavy and then go light. That's the plan. Okay. Um all right. Okay, let's start heavy and then let's go light. There's actually several things that have been developing in South Korea ever since the new administration took over. So, as you know, I don't really deal much with politics unless it's going to affect BTS or K-pop or the relationship or the entertainment industry in general. So that's mostly not really politics, but mostly economics, right? Okay. Wait a minute. I need to go live. Okay, there we go. Like Instagram is so janky when it comes to going live and stuff. So, okay. Let's go back. All right. Let's close all of this just to make sure. Okay. So one of the major things, aside from the fact that the police is still chasing Bang Shiok with all of this investigation, is that oddly enough, the National Museum of Korea is now working with Bang Shiok. So they forged a partnership with him. They have a memorandum of understanding. So Hybe and all of the artists under Hybe is going to start working with the National Museum of Korea to promote traditional, not just pop culture, but also traditional Korean culture. And that includes clothing, food, um, items, all of those stuff. Okay, so let's just go through that. Um, so the National Museum of Korea actually has a line of products. They call it moods. So and they wanna expand that. So what they want is, or at least what's going to happen, is that artists of Hybe will now regularly come out with products or merchandise that takes from traditional aesthetics of South Korea. So from pottery to clothing to shows, food, they will come up with merchandise and products that reflect traditional Korean culture and aesthetics. Okay, so that's one. Second is that using the infrastructure of Hybe, all of these products will actually be exported to other countries. So wherever Hybe is able to distribute, they will actually distribute all the Moods product. So it's Moods X whatever, Le Seraphim, Isle It, and Hype and TXT, whatever. Um, and then they are also the artists themselves under Hybe will also promote the National Museum of Korea. So they're going to push traffic. I don't know if you've ever been to if you've ever been to South Korea. The National Museum of Korea is a one stop. That's one stop you shouldn't miss. It's so beautiful. Okay, but more on that later. The very first partnership that Hybe had with the National Museum of Korea is the Dalmajong collection. So they came out with all of this beautiful, beautiful stuff. I don't know if you were able to get some of it. I was able to order some, but all of this, the design, it's traditional South Korean aesthetics. I think if you go to Weavers, there's still probably like maybe one or two items that are still available, but most of them are sold out. So they're beautiful. It was highly successful, just like any other merchandise that BTS came out with. And so that's actually the first that this is the second time they partnered with the National Museum of Korea. Okay, but this is the first where it's actually products that they are selling. So these are some of it. Um I this one I usually order two, but for this one I ordered just one because I really wasn't going to use it. I didn't even open it yet. It's still sealed. So, but they're beautiful. If you can afford it, I know that many of you are already trying to save for the concert, for OT7 concert, but if you can afford it, order one or two items because they're so beautiful. I guess whatever is left. Hi, Dawn Marie. BTS paved the way. Carla Girl. Okay. So the very first partnership that they had with the National Museum of Korea is the time capsule. I don't know if you remember that, but they actually had the time capsule that BTS members offered to the National Museum of Korea, and it is in display in the National Museum of Korea. So when we went, so don't forget to go there. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place, and it's big. So it's like I guess it depends. So if you go there at 9 and if you really try, if you're not just going to walk around and not read, right? Which we did when we went there, it was when my father was still alive. It was actually the last trip that we had as a family was Korea. And this was one of the places that we went to. It was such a beautiful place. We made such good memories. I because there's a lot of talking points. Like if you are with the right people, and this is my tip to you guys when you're going to a museum. make sure you bring the right people with you so that you can actually converse about the things that you're seeing, right? Because I think one of the not worst, but one of the ways for you to not enjoy a trip to the museum is to not have somebody who are actually interested in what you're looking at. So the one great thing about my family is that we're all interested in history, we're all interested in beautiful things, so art, whatever, all of those things, we're all interested in that. And so we can have great conversations about what we're actually seeing. So, and it was as I've mentioned, it was the last trip that I had with my family, with my dad, not my family, but with my dad when he was still alive. So that was his last trip. And at that time he was already like a little weak. That's when I told you guys that I knew it was coming because he wasn't really walking a whole lot or whatever. But because this place was air conditioned, there wasn't a lot of like, it was a good trip for him, this specific one. So we had a lot of fun. So if you go there, it's such a big place. So I would say if you are with the right person, or you're going to be with a person that actually will discuss with you, or you that's actually interested, who's actually interested in what you're seeing, you can easily spend the entire day in the museum. And then aside from the exhibits and the historical exhibits, and then there are some things that you can actually watch, not long ones, but like a 20-minute presentation or whatever. um what I would recommend for you to do is go when it opens. I think it opens like 9 or 9:30, and then you can spend your lunch there. By the time you're done, if you are with the right person, you can also hang out in the garden, in the park. You can probably go straight to dinner. So that's your entire day. Okay, so back the BTS exhibit, the BTS box is actually there in the National Museum of Korea, and then you can listen to their voices. If you see that wire, it looks like a wire hanging or whatever, you can actually listen to the voices of the boys. Okay. Um, when do they open? This is the answer because I knew you were going to ask. It's going to be open in 2039. So we are 14 years away from that. So still there. So they presented it to the former president. And they said like memories of their journey to the top and some letters, I believe. So they're going to open in 2039. It would be interesting to see where the boys are with me at that time. I hope they're available to actually open it and we can all see what's in it. Okay. So I think if you go, it's not in the entrance. It's kind of hard because we follow the map. We follow the map, and then um it wasn't there the first time we went there. It was there when I went there alone. Okay. So they also shot if you would remember, BTS was actually one of the celebrities that delivered a performance and also a speech in the YouTube presentation for graduates during the pandemic. So they shot it in the National Museum of Korea. So you'll see there, you can recreate their dances if you want to do a TikTok. This place is so beautiful. So you can actually sit there, if you just want to rest for a bit before you go on to the next section. In this area that you're seeing right now, you can rest there. Beautiful, beautiful place. Mid-40s Bangtan law. I wonder what they were doing that time. I wonder too. So there, the graduates, if you would remember their speech, they actually did it in the National Museum of Korea. So BTS and Hybe have always been advocates of their culture. And they're not it's very rare that they are recognized for it, but they are one of they would constantly reinforce and use cultural aesthetics and sound in their performances. And if you would remember in Idol, the Korean aesthetics actually a big thing in the music video. Okay. 2039, I'm excited how we are all here to see it open, and hopefully there will be some Bangtan babies there as well. Hopefully. It would be nice to have all of your kids there, right? Okay, BTS 2.2 2.0. Um this is just I'm just showing you portions of the museum. Please, I really advocate for this. Go there. One of the things that I like going to, one of the places I like going to whenever I visit a country is their national museum, but because it's like a crash course in the history and the culture of the country. So if you can, try to do that as well, because it's going to give you like a quick rundown on what happened to the country. So, and South Korea is really good in presenting their history in such a concise manner, and also how their current aesthetics and sound have developed through the years. It's a very beautiful museum. Okay. So this is actually close to where you when you enter. This is one of the hallways that you will see right away. And in here, it's just like a 360, not really a 360, almost a 360, almost, yeah, almost a 360 area. And then it's you can just stand there. It's about 10 minutes, 15 minutes presentation. They'll and it changes. Sometimes it's about a certain period of their history, sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's a personality. Here we hanged out in this place. So this is near entrance and exit. Across the National Museum, there's like I forget that place, but there are a lot of flags of different countries there. So from this place, you'll see that. Um, we went there. It was actually when first time we went there, it was actually winter. So we liked the cold weather, which was good for us. So we were able to really enjoy the area because we were just walking and it was cold, so we didn't mind. Okay. So try to do spring or whatever. Now, this was the partnership of Bang Shiyuk with the National Museum of Korea. It's it's a um very controversial partnership for a lot of people, primarily because Bang Shiyuk as I've said, is going through some legal challenges right now, and he's being investigated and all of those stuff. So people can't seem to understand the connection between why would the National Museum of Korea, such an important part of their cultural drive, co- uh, the South Korea's cultural drive, why will they partner with somebody so controversial? Okay, so not only that, if you would remember in the newly launched organization to promote national culture, every every one of the big four, or what I like calling giant one and big three, has a representative. So there is somebody, if you can read that, there is somebody from JYP, YG, Hybe, and SM Entertainment. So each of the giant one and the big three, there's a representative in this organization. So essentially, what the president did was call everybody to help in whatever it is that they are doing. And so again, people were puzzled. If the police seems hell bent in going after Hybe, why are you calling this organization to help you with something so important? Okay. So that's also a puzzle to me. Not only that, the ruling party of South Korea is trying to institute some changes in their rules and regulations when it comes to economic regulations and laws. Okay. So one of the things that they are trying to change, oh, sorry, before I go there. So what is expected is that based on what they did for BTS, the partnership of the National Museum of Korea and BTS, based on what they did also in the Busan concert, it is highly likely that Hybe is going to shoulder the production cost and then just donate the net profit to the museum. If you would remember when the Busan World Expo committee asked BTS to help them in the campaign, when they did a concert, even though it is actually pretty obvious that that concert was supposed to be a part of the campaign. Hybe still chose, or Big Hit still chose to shoulder the cost, if you would remember that. So they declined all the donations except for the use of the venue. So, as far as I understand, they only paid half of the venue price, and then the rest BTS and Big Hit shouldered. And that actually, it was a huge cost. A huge cost. I mean, putting up a concert is not easy. Also, um, allegedly, big, because they were shouldering everything, but it was representing the government. They had to double everything, meaning they had to double the security, the insurance, because they had to make sure, because they're not just performing for themselves. They had to make sure that it was going to be flawless because they are going to perform for the government. Then Big Hit also shouldered, if you would remember, the venue was not finished. There were still a lot of things that had to be done. And so BTS themselves, or and Big Hit, actually had to shoulder the repairs and to finish the venue. So they spent, it just turned into a controversy for a lot of people, and they didn't gain anything. So most likely, based on that track record, it is not unlikely for Hybe to actually shoulder the production cost of all of these products, but still give the proceeds to the National Museum of Korea. Didn't Hybe pay because Busan refused to pay? Yeah, so Hybe paid for everything. So the only thing that they accepted, I think, is part of the, like, it's a discounted price for the use of the venue. So that's the only thing that they sort of got from the government, but everything else they shouldered. So insurance, security, they had to do repairs and finish off parts of the venue. And then also the area where the stadium is, where the arena is, it's not, what do I call, it's not sophisticated. It's not done. So Hybe actually had to pave some roads just to get people in the venue in a comfortable way. And as I've said, they couldn't afford to not do all of those things because then it's going to be their name and the name of the government. So they had to put in a lot of money in that, which, and Big Hit sort of explained it. They said that BTS members actually wanted to do it anyway because they've always wanted to do a free concert. Like, that's one of the things that they've always wanted to do. So it's like, this is a chance for us to do that, to fulfill that wish of BTS members. Okay. So it just feels like they keep on being used. Um that's how I feel like, you know, but also, to a certain degree, like, if I think about it, if the Philippines, my home country where I came from, calls me and say, hey, help us in this, after every, I would still do it because it's my country. So what can I do? But I love both my countries. I love the US and I love the Philippines. So it's the same thing for the US, I guess. Okay. So they are expected to actually shoulder the production cost of this merchandise that they are going to release. Okay. Now, another development is that the ruling party of the government is actually moving to abolish crime of to abolish the breach of trust as a criminal case. So if you would remember, I'm sure we've covered so much of the Minhee Jin versus Hybe and New Jeans versus Adore cases. Both of those cases are hinged on breach of trust. Basically, they're able to sue each other because of the clause breach of trust, because it is categorized as a criminal case in South Korea. Now, the ruling party of South Korea is trying to take that out. They're trying to make it a civil case and not a criminal case. Okay, so let's go through that. So if that happens, it's going to affect the current cases that Hybe has against Minhee Jin and Adore has against New Jeans. Okay. Okay. Background. So, breach of trust in South Korea means that any kind of liability or negative results coming from a an employee caused by an employee's decision or program or move could be viewed as breach of trust. Okay, let me say that again. If a manager of the company or an executive or even an employee causes any kind of financial loss through their actions, then that would be breach of trust. Okay. So, for example, I'm a manager of a department, and let's just say, I manage the marketing department, and I decided, okay, we're going to advertise on TV as part of our marketing program. So I spend, let's, for example, say $5 million. And then that didn't yield any return. The company lost that 5 million, in other words. So what now the company can actually sue me for breach of trust because I caused them financial losses. And that for them is a violation of my fiduciary duty. Okay, so right now that's how the law is written and interpreted in South Korea. So it's very broad and very vague. That means prosecutors or lawyers can apply that to almost anything else. And many of the cases against executives and even founders and owners of big corporations in South Korea, they're actually hinged. They use this. They use the breach of trust clause as a criminal case against these people. So, for example, a CEO invests a risky project that fails, that can be breach of trust. A bank officer approves a loan that goes bad, then that's breach of trust. A corporate restructuring leads to layoffs or short-term losses, that's breach of trust. So, what the government is saying is that um, it's actually hindering people from taking risks. Many of the executives and business owners in South Korea have become risk averse because of this. Do you want to say hi, Damak? You want to say hi? He's not even looking at me. He's side eyeing me. Do you want to say hi? He's side eyeing me. Okay. Do you want to say hi? Hmm? Okay, just let me know if you want to say hi, okay? Love you. Okay. So they said that because of this, many business owners, executives, vice presidents, they have become risk averse because they don't want to risk it. So they said that to revitalize the economy, they want to encourage taking risks. Okay. That's their rationale. Why they're trying to decriminalize breach of trust. So the logic is kind of like, if every failed business decision can be criminalized, managers won't innovate, invest, or take bold actions. We need to shift from punishing economic mistakes to promoting responsible risk taking. Okay. So that's the logic. Don't scare them with criminal clauses and they'll take risks. Okay, so the proposed change, these are the details of the proposed changes. So they will replace criminal punishment. In other words, you won't be jailed with civil or administrative liability. And that means fines, restitutions, firing, fees, and other stuff. Focus criminal penalties only on intentional fraud, embezzlement, or personal enrichment, not on failed business judgment. So they're saying that if it is fraud, if you made money out of a company, if you are proven to have mishandled or pocketed money of other people, then those are criminal cases. But if it is you taking a risk and you failed, that's not criminal. That's just failure. Third, give peace of mind. As they said, this is the word that they used. Give peace of mind to executives and entrepreneurs making good faith decision. Okay, if they can see that risk, then they should see that what Nujin's Minhijin is also a risk to K-pop industry contracts. Okay, well, I'll get to that. How is that going to affect the current cases? Okay, the ruling party, the People Power Party, sees breach of trust as a drag on investment and entrepreneurship. They want to rationalize economic punishment, meaning reducing criminal penalties for corporate missteps and focusing on financial restitution instead. So they're not saying that you will not be punished at all. They're just saying that you just won't go to jail. That's one. Second is that this shouldn't go to court. It should be an internal process within the company. You should settle this among yourselves. Okay. So that means Korea, at least from their point of view, is making it easier to do business by not risking jail time for management decisions or management projects. Now, the other side says this is dangerous because it's going to weaken corporate accountability, especially among conglomerates, executives who already wield huge power. In other words, for example, I don't know if you've heard this, but the Kakao CEO, remember that Kakao invested in Bana? Um, oh, thank you, Angel Star. Deba, you got $5 from Angel Star. Do you want to say thank you? Okay, he turned and showed me his ass instead. He really doesn't want me to talk to him right now. Thank you, Angel Star. I think he's going to change his mind in a bit. He's probably just resting. Okay. Do you want to say thank you? Hmm? You don't want me to disturb you? Okay. Just want me to disturb him. Okay. So I don't know if you know this, but the Cacao, if you would remember that Cacao sued their former CEO for for making bad investments in Bana. And he was proven not guilty because they said that you can't prove that his investments was malicious. That's basically what the court said. So now critics are saying if something like that, if they can get away with something like that, then decriminalizing breach of trust is going to make it worse, especially those in the higher ups. They can find ways on how to invest on something, for example, a production company like Bana, and then funnel the money to them. It's going to make it easier for them because they're not going to go to jail anyway. The worst that will happen is that they're simply going to pay fines, which by the time they would be able to afford to do it. Okay. And then they said that it's going to encourage moral hazard, making it easier for insiders to justify self serving or reckless decision, just like the example that I gave. They can make investments in certain companies and then just say, okay, it was a bad investment. When in fact, it was funneled, the money has been funneled to them in one way or another. Debak has a bit of attitude today. Did he not get his playtime today? He hasn't gotten his playtime today. But although he got his playtime yesterday, I took him to the park and he played for a good hour and a half, just pestering this poor squirrel. So I don't know. I think it's just being snobbish. They maybe because he's very he needs grooming already. So maybe that I think he's probably like I'm irritated with my fur. Okay, and then they said that it's going to erode trust in corporate governance since many major corruption scandals in Korea, like Samsung's, were prosecuted under breach of trust. So many, there's like almost 99% of the prosecutions that happened within with large companies, it was actually under breach of trust. So they said that if you take this out, then imagine all of those prosecutions, all of those things won't pay for what they did. So, however, the one thing that we do need to remember is that this reform is not going to apply to current cases. Okay, so whatever current cases is happening is just going to be ruled using the old law, using the old regulation. This reform is going to be applied to new cases. Okay. Um, Under the current law, however, okay, so let's look at what's happening between Hybe and Min Hee Jin. So, under the current Hybe, the current case, the current law, sorry, the current regulation, Hybe accused Min of breach of their fiduciary duties by discussing ways to wrest control from the current company. So, if you would remember, Hybe saying that he tried to weaken the control of Hybe over Adore by talking with people on how to destroy the reputation of Hybe, destroy the reputation of Adore, and also by looking for other investors. Okay, so that's their one. Second is that misusing confidential corporate information and strategizing to dilute Hybe's ownership, which Hybe said constitutes breach of trust under Korean law. So the confidential corporate information includes contracts, her own shareholders agreement with Hybe, and also that controversial document that review that the former editor-in-chief of Weaver's magazine put together to review the different positionings of different girl groups. So Hybe is saying she used it, she put it under miscontextualized, basically. It's a wrong context. So they're saying that all of these things, it's an effort to dilute the control of Hybe over Adore, specifically over No Jeans. That is under the current law. That's why they're able to drag her to court because that constitutes breach of trusts. Breach of trust. Now, prosecutors can pursue a case even if there's no personal money gain occurred. Now, Hybe is saying that um, if you would remember in the initial case, when she first won the injunction, the very first injunction, the judge said, you can't say that she damaged a door because a door didn't lose money. Okay. So she didn't damage a door. So you can't say she damaged a door. They managed to get her out as a CEO anyway. So in a in the current law, Hybe actually does not need to prove loss of income. They just need to prove disloyalty or questionable acts. So, in principle, that judge should have sided with Hybe because in the current law, you don't need to prove monetary losses. For as long as the intent was wrong, and it was a disloyal act, that should have been breach of trust. Anyway, that's done. Now they're hearing the new case. So the bigger case, which is Hybe accusing Min Hee Jin, number one, saying that the stakeholders agreement isn't valid anymore. And that second, she tried to damage Hybe. Okay. So that is a case that they're pursuing now. If the proposed reform were already in place, then Hybe's leverage would drastically drop because then they will have to prove before they can make it an actual case, they will have to prove that Adore lost money because of Min Hee Jin. And if you would remember, the initial judge said, the first judge of the initial injunction said she didn't damage a door. She tried to weaken the control of Hybe, and he acknowledged that. She tried to weaken the control of Hybe over a door, but she did not damage a door. Therefore, you cannot fire her as a CEO of a door. Your case should be a separate thing, but it isn't related to her being a CEO of a door. Okay, now the case, if the new proposed law is applied to the current case, then it's not going to go to the court. It's just going to be a civil court one, or it could be an internal arrangement. It could be an internal discussion. The case would then pivot from criminal intent to corporate procedure. Instead of, you want to say hi? Come. Ah, yay. Okay. Because he was just like looking at me like, what the hell are you trying to do? Hello. Hi. Say hi. Say thank you to Angel Star. She gave you money for your treat. Ah, there you go. Say hi. Say hi. I know. He was like when I was trying to get him, he was looking at me like I like I'm a crazy woman or something. Okay, so he's going to get her his grooming tomorrow. I have an appointment. I'm going to drop him off. After my appointment, I'm going to pick him up. Okay, baby. Do not complain, okay? And you smell. You stink now. Okay, so if the current if the current law is applied to her case, then it's going to get out of the criminal court and into the civil court. And they will have to, or it's just going to go through arbitration. So, and then um instead of, because it's going to be a civil case, instead of just saying that did she betray or did she try to betray Hybe, the question will be how much damages did she actually cause? What did she destroy? And what is the exact monetary value of what she did? That's a much tougher case to prove, because then you really have to prove that any kind of losses you suffered is all because of her. Okay. So, for example, if they want to prove that New Jeans refusing to work is a cause of what she did, they're going to have to make it very, very clear that that it was Min Hee Jin who egged on New Jeans to not work for Hybe. And she has wisely distanced herself from New Jeans since the New Jeans case began. Okay. Um Okay, so uh it would now be, as I've said, more an internal discussion and not criminalized. So they will have to settle this thing privately. And so this could be arbitration, shareholder negotiation, but the police is not going to get involved. So the one thing that's going to go away though is the police spectacle, because there's no more criminal investigation, right? It's all civil. So there's no photo line, no going to the police, no questioning, no raids. It's just going to be an internal discussion. So I guess to a certain degree you can say that it does play both sides. Okay. Now, one thing to be clear though, New Jeans didn't file a criminal complaint in return. They only use the term breach of trust rhetorically, sorry, and accused Hybe in a public statement of breach of trust, but they didn't sue Hybe under breach of trust. They're just using it as a talking point. If the breach of trust, and also it was Hybe, it was Adore who actually filed the complaint against them, not the other way around. So if breach of trust law were downgraded or abolished, then Min could publicly and legally assert her claim that Hybe breached Adore's trust through unfair interference without criminal punishment. Okay. um, Min's defense would shift from I didn't commit a crime to Hybe is the one violating governance norms. That's how it's going to turn the table. I hope that's clear. However, if breach of trust is downgraded from criminal to civil, the one thing is that both sides, both Min and Hybe and the door, would need to prove economic harm, not moral betrayal. So in that case, Min can talk about breach of trust and whatever for as long as she can, but if she cannot prove that Hybe or Adore caused her economic damages, then there's nothing she can do. So it cuts both ways, right? With it would force both to prove actual damages. So it's not just Hybe that will not suffer, but will have to change the strategy, but also her. Okay. So in the Hybe Adore situation, the criminalization of betrayal amplified the scandal. The criminalization would have turned it into a contractual and corporate ethics dispute, sparing New Jeans and the public from months of criminal suspicions headlines. That's the one thing that's going to go away. Everything is going to be private. Most likely, everyone will have to sign an NDA. So while they are hearing this case internally, no reporters will be involved, and it will just be arbitration. So if they don't settle, if no agreement ever is settled, then it's just going to drag on for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. At the end of that, it's actually New Jeans that will lose the most, because as we know in South Korea, once you near 30 and you are a woman, then you have a weaker chance of actually making a comeback in South Korea. You're going to have to go international. If you go international, we don't care what your age is. We have Madonna, hello, right? So I think if one of the things that the supporters of Min Hee-jin is celebrating is the fact that it's not going to be a criminal, and New Jeans supporters, if they're celebrating this change because they think it's going to spare the girls, it actually might just put them in a worse situation, because then that's the one thing that everyone will have to agree on, that there is an NDA. You shut the F up while this arbitration is happening. You cannot give interviews, you cannot hint at anything, or you automatically pay fines. Then if no one is agreeing to anything, then they can just drag this on for 7 years, right? And then by that time, Hyde can say, okay, you go restart your career. So I think they have to think twice if they are advocating for this, thinking that it's going to save New Jeans. I don't think it will. The second thing is that this will not be applied to current cases. So that case that is being heard right now is just going to go on as a criminal case. This thing is going to apply to future cases. It cannot be retroactive. It hasn't changed already. It's still being they're still proposing it. They're still working on it to change the law. It's going to be a long process as well, because this has to go to court. Madonna has decades of career. He's not a. Oh, I get what you're saying. You're saying that unlike New Jeans, Madonna has already proven her worth, so she can be absent for 5 years, 6 years, and 7 years, come back and should still be fine. Thinking for those imbeciles is not a thing. I think one of the things that the some fans are speculating is that Hybe is most likely going to bring forth more charges as time goes by. I don't know if that's true. I have always said that I think at this stage, what Hybe wants to do is try to prove that they are more than willing and capable of managing the career of New Jeans. And they want to see this through, because the last thing that they want is for court to say, look, you're trying to destroy New Jeans. So I think they're going to try to the very last minute prove that they're actually trying to make it work for New Jeans. Okay, so this was just a what if. If this was in effect type of thing. Yes. Although, okay, so one thing that a lot of people are saying is that it could that they're advocating that the court, the Congress, even the president actually intervene in this case of New Jeans, and so that it actually reverts into a civil case rather than a criminal case. Okay, loss of income should be a charge against them. It should be, because right now Adore is actually losing a lot of money. So they've lost many of their brand ambassadorship already. So Apple already took in a new one, Gucci, Chanel, many of the partners that they have, they've already moved on to the next partnership. As you know, Coca-Cola actually has a new one. So Coca-Cola Korea. And so there's just they've lost so much already. And so Adore can actually put that as a case that we've lost so much because you don't want to work. And I'm going to touch on the brand partnerships in a bit, but they've basically lost many of their their brand partnership already. So what's kind of expected on the 30th? The decision. So at the end of October, or close to the end of October, the court is going to decide on the contract, the validity of the exclusive contract between between New Jeans and Adore. So if you would remember, the arbitration actually failed. So they had two dates, they failed. So they are going to, now the judge will have to make the call. Uh, New Jeans is Susan is not are not Susan Boyle. Susan has a personality. Precious Brats are not that special. New Jeans is just whiling away their time and talent. They are. Um, a huge chunk of the support that they are getting, they might get like a slew of support in the beginning. Like, for example, if they make their comeback, their initial comeback might actually do good because people are going to be curious on what they're going to be doing, right? So I think their initial comeback will do good. But I think after that, when things actually, settle, people are going to lose interest. And then the other thing is that the one advantage that they have is that they made an enemy. They created an enemy, right? So, which is Le Seraphim and I'll It. Basically, Hybe. They made Hybe an enemy. So, to a certain degree, it's a marketing move for them because it allows them to remain relevant for as long as these groups, I'll It, Le Seraphim, if they do good to a certain degree, they're going to be pulled in that because there will always be haters. If someone is popular, there will always be haters. And the haters would want to put that group down. And the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so what these people will do is go to the enemy or the competition of Le Seraphim and I'll It and support them just to bring down Islet and Le Seraphim. When is their contract up? So it's 7 years. So they have 4 more years to go. That is a question by Shelling. When is your contract up? Bob, the question will be: is there someone out there ready to pay Nujine's penalty? That is the big question. Yes, that is the big question. Is there somebody out there to pay their penalty? Um, but yeah, I think they will have an advantage for sure if I'll It and Le Seraphim actually do good. Then they will get the support of the haters because there's always somebody out there hating on Le Seraphim and I'll It, right? So if those two groups do good, then whoever is hating on them, they will side with New Jeans. I can't believe that their parents are still carrying on with this stupidity. Being brainwashed is a big thing. Actually, I don't know if you are on Facebook and on X. There's actually a lot of people sending me videos of their performances. This has been happening for a long time. I just don't pay attention to them. So there's a lot of people sending me videos proving that they are not good performers because they're known for being good performers, right? So and they were like, no, you were just brainwashed into believing that they're actually good performers. And so they've been sending me some stuff. I'll post it on Patreon. What happens if Adore wins? What happens if Adore wins? Are they going to resume work as usual? How about the company's losses? That is the assumption. If Adore wins, meaning if the judge says, well, you're gonna have to work. So he says, for example, he says New Jeans, you're gonna have to work under Adore. I'm sorry, if that's what the judge says. The ideal scenario is that they're just gonna come back. The other possibility is that they appeal. So they could say, which is another year, probably half a year to 1 more year, and then appeal again. I think they have 3 appeals. And so it's a long, that's why people are saying this could drag on for 5 years. The case between DBSK and SM actually lasted 3 years, 4 years, I think. And then they actually eventually settled. And so JYJ, the three that broke out of DBSK, had to pay a portion of their income until they were able to pay off the debt. Okay. If I had the money, I would pay for them to go away. I'm so tired of hearing. Okay, let's talk about RM. I want to hear some feedback first. What was your first reaction when you heard after watching his? How did it make you feel? I guess how did it make you feel, or what was your first reaction after watching his live stream? You want to go down, baby? Want to go down? Okay, say goodbye, bye. Tell them I have already graced you with my presence. Why are you doing that? Tell them I have already graced you with my presence. That is it. That is all you get from me. Bye bye. You smell good, baby. Hey, mommy. Yeah, baby. Good night, Debak. They're saying good night to you. Okay? Okay. Going back to his favorite spot under my bed. Okay. So if they keep on appealing, yeah, the assumption I think there's somebody financing them. This is expensive. What they're doing is expensive. And I think at some point, I mean, sure, the law firm could defer the payment, but I think they would they collect. I don't think they're gonna work for this long without collecting. So I think they periodically collect their fees. Okay. Um. All right. Let's see some of your feedback. Namjoon is human, just like the rest of us, and going through good and bad times. Bye bye, Your Majesty. RM's live was nice. It was the most real I've seen any of the guys be about relationships and emotions when not in a song. Would love to have coffee and talk with him. Didn't get to catch his live. I watched your video instead, your take on his live. Okay, but please watch his live as well. I thought he was transparent and I realized how important the army is to each of them. I wanted to hold him in my arms and squeeze him. I love him more every day. I loved how open he was and how he taught us every day to love oneself, how he views life is touching. What a smart man RM is. He's a very smart man. I think some were overreacting to some of the things that he said, ignoring that info that he is seeking help. I still have to watch it. Raw honesty, he looked like he was tired and struggling. RM was true and deep. Linex said, I want to rewatch it once the translations are properly updated. I feel they're always a bit too off to know their full intentions. I really appreciate RM for being honest 100%. When I heard RM speak, I was really shocked at him being so honest and open about something so personal. Then I was happy with what he was saying. He was actually he was bantering with armies, when he was talking about his age. It was like, oh, I feel so that he thinks that he's going to be um treated like a fossil or something when he goes to a music show, and he was teasing arms like, you're old too. So it was actually bantering. Okay, so um it's really is, it's one for the books, as I've said in the video that I published this morning. It's really one for the books because I feel like this is one of the most, probably in the top three, if not the most unguarded moment that he has ever been in front of the armies. And I do feel that among all members, um it would be, I think it's him and JK that's most unguarded, right? But between him and JK, he goes deep. But I think it's simply because that's his nature, right? Jungkook is like a friend who likes hanging out with you and doing fun things, right? But he really talks about life. That's what RM is. So one, it surprised me because after the live, so I was watching people leaving comments on Facebook and YouTube. even Instagram, just giving their thoughts. And these are some of the most common narratives that I saw, that he hasn't recovered from the military service. That's what they said. Oh, he hasn't recovered, and that he's still suffering. He still needs help. Which quite honestly was really surprising to me because he never mentioned the military. I was like, where did you get that? And to me, what I'm saying is that maybe it could very well be the source of his, like, probably he hasn't really gotten over what he experienced in the military, but that is not something that you put into him. Like, you don't put words into his mouth. He did not say that. In the entire 1 hour live stream, he never mentioned, like, oh, I haven't recovered from the military. He never said that. And so, while it could be correct, it would still be an assumption because he never said it. Okay, but it gives you an idea on how people fill in the blanks. Like, okay. And then the other one is that, oh, no one is there for him, not his family members, like whatever, no one's there for him, no one's trying to comfort him. Which he also did not say. It's like, what he said was that he does things alone. It could very well be his choice, but he never said that. And he certainly didn't say that he's always alone. He just said that he does things alone, but he never said, like, oh, I'm always alone. Nobody wants to be with me. It was quite the contrary. He said, oh, I actually told Jim and that I will be there once he calls. So he does have company. He even talked about his friends, his friend who actually went out on to have dinner or lunch with him. So there are people that he is with, and he mentioned his family. He can always go back. So, like, no one is there for him. Again, it's just people's way of filling in their blanks. Once, if they can't make sense of something, they kind of improvise. And then this is another thing. Like, he advocated for women, which is true, but it's only half the truth because he advocated for people, not just for women. When he was talking about live your life, he was just saying, he wasn't saying, oh, all you women should live your lives and men, you shouldn't live your life. It wasn't like that. He was just talking about everybody. But and I'm very proud of that, that he is, especially in Asia, where there are certain expectations when it comes to women. This is great that he's actually talking about that. But let me just be very clear that the expectation is actually both ways. If there are expectations from women, there are also expectations from men. So, and he is advocating for both. He's saying, no, both of you, please do what you like. Please live your life the way that you want it. So he advocated for humanity. Although I am not surprised that this actually how people perceived it, because majority, that's a big concern among women in Asia, I guess in the world. So okay. And then there are things like, oh, he's manic depressive, he has a borderline personality disorder. And I'm like, how are you diagnosing him? Like, not even professionals, like actual psychologists and psychiatrists will even tell you that they can diagnose somebody from afar, right? They even so I remember I recommended two channels to you guys. They are both professional clinicians, actual psychologists who would analyze things in pop culture from a psychologist's spectrum. And even they would constantly say, and they are very, very careful with this, they would constantly say, don't we will never diagnose anybody from afar. And so if they can't, and they are licensed professionals, how can you do that? But again, it's like people are just filling in the blanks. Like, they are, it's just amazing how people would actually interpret things from their perspective. Okay. All right. So and then the other thing is that he should leave Hybe and BTS. They aren't even there for him. And I've always said, like, why will they leave Hybe? They built that thing. Like, the Hybe exists because of this. Like, if at all, everyone else should leave. They should remain because this is their company. I don't understand any of this. Okay. But anyway, these are just some of the funny narratives that I'm seeing already. So I guess this only proves that we all have really such varied receptors because we all watched the same thing and walked away from it different ways. Right? Like, we all were watching him. He was just saying one thing. We're all hearing it, but we're all interpreting it differently. And I guess that's beautiful to a certain extent because that's what humanity is. You're supposed to interpret things according to how you perceive them and according to your own sensibilities and maybe even according to your own needs. But the one thing that stood out to me, the most important thing, and this is even way more important than all the other things that I said in my video this morning, is purpose. That's what his bottom line is when he was talking about depression, his anxiety, his restlessness, his insomnia. You can actually boil it, at least to me. I was able to boil it down to one thing, and it was purpose. Because he said that this is actually his way to survive what he's going through. And he was aware of it. He knew what he had to do. He said, I have to believe that my experiences will contribute to what will be created in the future. So, just for your information, I do have Korean friends. So they were born and raised in Korea, moved here. They've been here for decades. So they are able to translate it to me in a phrase that would be natural to a local speaker because they are very well versed in Korea. They're not in Korea and then learning English from Korean. They were born and raised in Korea and then they moved here and so they're now speaking the language. So that phrase when he was talking about like I have to believe whatever, this is how a local, according to my friends, this is how a local would actually say it. Like I have to believe that my experiences now, and so that includes the loneliness and the pain and whatever, will contribute to what will be created in the future. So I think that is common, not common, but that is actually an effective way of dealing with that. I guess, yeah, it is the most common way for people to survive this effed up world, right? Purpose. We just don't look at it that way. If you would remember the book, The Courage to be Disliked, and in that book, they actually used Adlerian psychology. That book stated that purpose, not happiness, is what you should pursue. So it advocates for you living for something. And it doesn't have to be a big thing, right? So it could be helping other people, tending a garden, raising a cat, whatever it is. But you do need to have a purpose. So in Adlerian psychology, it's saying that happiness is not what you should be going after. Because happiness is just it's fleeting. It comes and it goes. But what's constant is purpose. So if you know you're contributing something, that gives you the energy to actually go on. Okay. So I would encourage you to read the book, The Courage to be Disliked. This is the book that Shoga and RM were seen reading in the soup. That's essentially what it's saying, that you need to live with a purpose. You need to help, but you also should not expect acknowledgement from the help that you are doing in the contribution that you are doing. So one great example in that book is the question that what the character asked in the book. If you are, for example, cleaning the street every day, right? You're cleaning the street every day, but you don't get thanked for it. Like you just clean it every day, so your neighbors benefit from it. But then nobody acknowledges you for it. Are you going to continue doing it? So the answer should be yes, you should just continue doing it regardless of the acknowledgement or not. So that's what Adlerian psychology is advocating, that you just contribute. And that is similar to what RM is saying, that I'm just going to have to believe I have no choice. I'm just going to have to believe that whatever it is I'm going to is going to contribute, that whatever it is I'm going through, it's going to contribute to what we're going to be doing in the future. Okay, so purpose. Okay, next. Um it's also actually the bedrock of faith or any kind of religion for that matter. It doesn't matter the religion, but it's any kind of religion. That's the bedrock of religion, that you do something for a higher purpose. So in religion, it's to your God, right? So you say, okay, I'm doing this, I'm suffering, but I'm doing this because this is what my master wants me to do. Again, purpose, that your recognition is not, and the reward is not going to come from here. This is on religion. It's going to come from heaven or that place that your God is offering. Okay, the God of your religion is offering. It's the same thing for family as well. So you're doing it for the people that you love, not necessarily for yourself. So it boils down to one thing, purpose. And that's what he kept on going back to in his life. It was like, nah, I'm just going to have to believe that this is meant for something. That no, this depression is, it happens whenever we do before a comeback, but it's going to get better once we're on the road and performing. Um, and his purpose is not just for himself, it's also for other people, right? Because he's saying that whatever it is that I'm going to through right now, it's going to contribute to something better in the future. So this well publicized and well supported and well celebrated dogma that we only live for ourselves isn't actually true. It's not going to hold. We need to live for ourselves and for other people. That's what I got from what he's saying. It's not just all about you. It has to be you and other people. So I know it sounds sexy and rebellious and glamorous to say don't care about other people. It's no, you have to care about other people. You just have to be the right people to care for. So family, friends, all of those things. You can't live in a vacuum. So not caring about everybody else isn't true. You have to care about yourself and the other people. So two things. Okay. Um, so so again, ask yourself what is the purpose? Especially if you're in a downtime. Okay, what's the purpose? Because one thing that he really highlighted, what RM really highlighted in in this live stream, is that he was looking for a solution. He wasn't like, I hate everybody, period. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like, I'm so sad, I'm miserable, I'm rich but I'm miserable, whatever. It wasn't like that. He was like, okay, I'm going through something, but I know what's it's causing it. I know why I'm depressed. I know I'm going through anxiety and I'm going to do something about it. So I hope that, because there's quite honestly, I think that depression, even though it's not clinical depression, people like diagnosing themselves. um, it's too, it's too, um, it's too glamorized. Like people find it, I don't know what it is about depression that people find it attractive. They feel that, I guess, they're getting attention when they're depressed or whatever. But RM actually took a different approach. He is like, no, I know what I'm going through. I'm trying to do something about it. So I hope that we can all take on that attitude, that we should recognize if we're going through something, but also recognize that we have the power to actually do something about it, whether it's about reaching out to somebody else, getting professional help, whatever that may be. At the end of the day, the first step will still have to come from us. Okay. The amount of pressure resting on RM's shoulder and all the members must be crushing. Probably, probably. I mean, everyone's eyes are on them. And everyone's like, and this is especially true because they actually never reached the pinnacle of their success. If you think about it, they actually never got there. They were on their way to what would have been the pinnacle of their success with the tour, but that got spoiled because of the pandemic. And then all of these things happened during the pandemic, and that includes the legal cases of Hybe. That includes other groups coming into the picture saying that, oh, we did this, we did that. So now people are like, okay, if you really pave the way, if you really are the biggest act in the world, show it. Show us what you're made of. So I think yeah, the pressure is probably crushing. But again, I think for RM, what should be highlighted is the fact that he was aware of it. Like he's aware of the things that he is going through, what he's feeling, and he's trying to do something about it. So that is the attitude that we should all take on instead of just saying, I'm depressed and that's about it. Like I'm depressed and so everybody should adjust to me. So I'm, pity me because I'm going through something, and so everyone should just adjust to me. On the other hand, RM's attitude was like, no, I know exactly what it is that I'm going through. I know why, and I'm going to do something about it. Yoongi worries us. We would like to show him our encouragement. He was not there for Valentino Fashion Week this weekend. Give him space. He will be there once he's ready. He mentioned his depression and anxiety is coming back, right? So he said that it's coming back. And so a lot of people were like, oh, well, just poor RM and whatever. But to me, I thought it was such a victory for him to recognize it. He knew. He was very aware. He was like, he knew he's remember, as I've said in the video that I released this morning, he's extroverted and he's very much aware of it. So he knew that the energy is gonna come from interaction with other people. And right now he's not getting it because he's creating an album, which he was also aware of. He said that this usually happens before a comeback because this is when I spent my time alone the most, because he's creating something, so he needs his solitude. So imagine that kind of awareness, and I wish people would celebrate that more instead of concentrating solely on his depression and anxiety. I think we should celebrate the courage and the awareness and the honesty. He just knew. He said, well, I'm spending so much time alone, and this is where it's coming from. And we all know he even said he's extroverted. So his energy is coming from other people, interaction with other people. So I don't know. There's just so much victimhood. Like everyone's just looking at him as a victim. I was looking at him as a very, very aware guy in that live stream. I think that depression is not really a tragedy. I think it's a condition that we just need to recognize. And once we recognize it, we deal with it. And he recognizes it. So that's half the battle, right? As long as he knows he is going through it, why he's going through it, that's half the battle. That's the first step for him to get help. And he did say he's going to get help. The other thing that I want to address is when he said he's actually going through therapy with ChatGPT. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh, he's using AI and whatever. I just want to emphasize that if you are searching anything on Google, any kind of search engine online, Bing, Microsoft, whatever that may be, you're using AI. So don't be this high and mighty moral person you're using AI. If you're in social media, you're using AI. So stop what he said that he's going through therapy through AI. Don't don't criticize him as if it's like you're using AI too. Whether you believe it or not, whether you admit it or not, you're using AI. That's, and you have been doing so for the last 20 years. For as long as you've been using Google or any kind of search engine, you've been using AI. The very first application of AI was actually psychology. So there was, I don't know, I interviewed this um psychologist, and he said that, what's her name? But he actually talked about the origin of AI. It was a psychologist who realized that many of his patients or her patients were actually coming to her with the same questions. So he made a program that would give the responses that they need whenever they talk about those things. So it's not strange that people are going to seek therapy through AI. Okay. So because I remember when Jungkook said that he was using Chat GPT for search, everyone was like, oh my God, this is AI. Like, I, I don't usually use this word, but such hypocrites. You've been using AI yourself, whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you hate it or not, you've been using it. Many of the medicines that we are taking, they were formulated by AI. Many of the machines that we're using, tools that we're using, they were developed by AI. So deal with it. If you don't want to use AI, then disconnect from the world. Go to the mountains and just live by yourself. That's the only way you're going to get away from AI. Okay? So don't stop criticizing them for that. That was the only reason that I was so mad about it. I remember that time when did Jungkook say that? When he said Chat GPT or something, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, he's using AI." I was like, "Yeah, same way you're using AI." Anyway, okay. Sorry about that. The important okay, so sorry. I did not mean to go off on that. I was just really so upset when they were criticizing Jungkook about it. It's like, come on. Hypocrites. Okay. So but at the end of it, I think it's really peace of mind. Um that we should all pursue instead of anything else. Um Happiness. I know there's so much like glamorization of happiness online, like, oh, I need to be happy. And even though even John Lennon was like, I want to be happy, and the truth is that it comes and goes, right? Even even when you're miserable, you can actually be happy for like a minute or two. So and even when you're it's just such a temporary state. It's not an end destination, because it's never meant to become a destination. Happiness is a moment. So I think what you should seek is peace of mind. Because when you have that, even when you're lonely, even when you are unsure, for as long as you have peace of mind, then you know that you will be okay. And peace of mind is going to come from purpose. So it's a full circle. If you know that you're doing something that contributes to something better, to make this world better, or your area better, or someone's life better, or someone's day better, that's okay. As long as you're contributing to it. My favorite definition of success is I forget the name of the person who said it, but he was like, success is winning the affection of children, leaving something beautiful behind, whether it's in the form of a tree, or a flower, or a pet, or your own child, or something, or a painting. For as long as you leave something beautiful behind, um, winning the respect of your critics. So it doesn't mean that you will gain fans, but just getting respected by people who are critical. That's the definition of success. And all of those things, again, it goes back to purpose. For as long as you know you're doing something good, you're contributing, it doesn't have to be huge. You don't need to fly a rocket to conquer Mars. Leave that to Elon. He's got that covered. You can just do something small for the person next to you, right? So even if it is like telling somebody that another thing that I realized is that so few people actually give compliments to other people. So try to do that. If you see somebody wearing a pair of shoe that you really like, just say it. Like, hey, I like your shoes. Where'd you buy it? Or nice lipstick. Where'd you get it? It's like a small thing can actually make a huge difference to other people. Or you can walk a dog. So those things, it always goes back to that. For as long as you know you're contributing and doing something good, it doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be huge. Eventually, if you're consistent and you're doing it, peace of mind is going to come next. So maybe that's the next thing that, or maybe RM already knows it, right? He just has not articulated it. So I think happiness is just too glamorous and actualized, but it comes and goes. So don't. Don't chase it. And also, let's remember that in this entire live stream that he did, he was very much aware of the cause of his loneliness. He was aware of it. He was actually articulating it. He was telling us about it. And he also knows how to cope. So I hope that we can celebrate that aspect more than anything. And again, as I've said in the opening, he advocated for human rights, not just for women's rights. I love that he did that because he's looking at people. Now we're getting to equality, right? A lot of feminists. I don't consider myself a modern day feminist. I don't even know what that means anymore. But at least we know that once people are actually looking at other people as human beings and not just based on the gender, then we actually get to it. Then we know that there is equality, because it's not just you have to do this because you're this gender. To him, he was actually telling everybody, live life the way that you want. So that is maturity. Okay. Um and also be careful, because as he says it, like when he was saying, okay, just do what you want, but also be aware that whatever it is that you're doing right now, whatever consequence of your decision is, it will only be you that will have to deal with it. So be careful as well. Okay, don't do things just because you want to be rebellious or whatever. You will suffer the consequences, nobody else. Okay. And then the other thing, when he was talking about marriage, is that in any relationship, do remember that for it to work, not just marriage, but for it to work, is as much as finding, it's as much about finding the right person as it is being the right person. I think a lot of people sort of ignore the fact that they also have to work on themselves. Like for them, it's like, oh, my partner has to be this and it has to be that and it has to allow me to do this. But very few people are now asking, okay, so what are you going to contribute to the life of the other person? So, right? You have to look at that as well. Okay, I applaud you for Fairy Lane. You're being a very smart lady. You're helping somebody. Well, that's actually our. I'm just reflecting on what he said. So I'm riding on his coattails. But thank you. Thank you. I feel him speaking about his anxiety and depression can help others who are going through the same feelings. Well, that's the one thing, as all these years that BTS has been talking about mental health. That's one thing I think it really sort of normalized. The people feel a little bit more free to talk about their own struggles. The other side of it is that people tend to diagnose themselves with something that they don't have. Like, oh, I have depression. And I'm like, are you sure? How'd you know that? I remember seeing this quote, like, what would this quote? Before you think you have depression, make sure that you aren't in fact a piece of shit. Okay. I'm just saying, I guess the dangerous part of it is that too many people are saying I have depression, that those actually who have depression they're not getting the right attention, right? So sometimes you're just sad. That doesn't necessarily mean you're depressed. Right? Sometimes, and it's natural for people to be sad. Sometimes you're just lonely. It's not necessarily depression. So be careful as well. Don't diagnose yourself. I think is the best. don't don't pretend that you know what it is that you're going through. If you do, then you won't be in that situation, right? Okay. Can you explain in which ways RM considers himself to be extroverted? So an extrovert gets their energy from interaction from the outside. Introverts get their energy from the inside, mean from being alone. That's how we. I'm introverted, so that's how we get energy when we're alone, right? And then when we go out, but by the way, it doesn't necessarily mean when you're introverted that you don't know how to interact with other people. That's not true. You absolutely can and still interact with other people. It's just that you're spending energy when you're interacting with other people and when you're outside. That's what an introvert is. An extrovert would get their energy interacting with people. So when they are talking with people, when they are in a party or whatever, the outside, that's when they get energized. And RM has actually verbalized that he is extroverted. So that's why, and even in this live stream, he actually said that he barely spends time inside. He likes being outside. And he said that he's lonely because he doesn't have consistently people around him. That's extroversion. Prior to this, he's talked about it several times before, that he likes being outside. He likes riding his bike, and going to exploring the city. That's just how he re-energizes himself. So, um, Team Esprit d'Air fan character wearing sand. Oh, thank you so much. Wow, thank you. Thank you. This is going to help a lot in the next project. So I'll discuss that. I'll just finish this thing with RM. So that's extroversion. Um, when you get your energy from the outside instead of inside. K-pop is a box, BTS are outside the box. Our army should appreciate the fact that ARM feels safe to be real with us. Uh, I'm also um be careful because he did say like, "Oh, I want to grow old with you." I just want to, for those that are delusional, he's not specific. He's not talking about us as individuals. He's talking about us as a collective, as armies. Okay, so and also don't hold him to it. That's how he feels right now. That's not necessarily how he's going to be feeling in the next 10 years or whatever. Things can change. So he said what he feels at that very moment, but who knows? Maybe someday he's not going to want to do this career anymore. We don't know. I mean, the mere fact that, remember, he said that he's planning on actually going on a tour with this, with the with the exhibit. I think that in itself is a clear vision for his future. Like he knows how he's going to expand his artistry. So he's going out of music. I'm not saying that he's going to stop making music. I'm just saying that he's expanding, right? So changes like that, that's built into what he's doing. I'd love a TED talk with RM. I'd love like a dinner or coffee with him, or maybe like a late night talks. Extroverts getting energy by being around people, even if it's not one on one, crowded spaces work. Paul McCartney is touring at 85. I hope BTS have a long and lovely, happy life with fans. Things will definitely change. I don't hold him to it. Like, don't, just enjoy it for as long as it lasts, is what I'm saying. Just throwing it out there. Fairlane, no, we are engaged to grow with Sugar and or the rest will fall in line too. Just throwing it out there. Introverts are not shy. If we're quiet, we don't have a problem. If we don't talk to you, it's either we don't want to talk, or as per Fairlane, words, you're a piece of yeah, a lot of people. Actually, there's somebody who sent me. Several people have actually sent me on a message on X and on IG saying that, oh, you keep on saying you're introverted, but you're actually, you do YouTube, so you're not introverted and whatever. That's not the way that it works. It's not just because we're introverted doesn't mean that we can't do public speaking, that we can attend parties, that we can have friends. We're introverted, not a-holes, okay? It just means that interacting with other people it spends our energy. It also doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's just how it is, okay? You deserve it, Fairy Lane, for the fifth. Last time I couldn't put more than 20 because YouTube crashed. You're wonderful and always smiling. Thank you for that. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Team Esprit. I don't know how else to say, but thank you. I really appreciate it. Um, okay, so let's go to brand. Maybe I can do one more. I have 17 minutes. I can do one more. Where are you? You want to get some of their pictures? Oh, that's not it. Wait, where are you? Huh? I didn't upload their pictures. Dang it. Worked so hard for it. If I upload it, it's gonna crash. I'm so frustrated. I'm angry at myself. I actually worked so hard for it. So I organized all of their pictures. Not all, but I actually sort of made a presentation of their looks, um, like their airport looks and the different looks that they used in their brand partnerships. I'm so angry at myself. I thought that's what I uploaded. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna do it next time. Okay. Get over it. Get out of it. Okay. So it's done. Okay. In the next presentation, I promise, in the next live, I actually did like, I laid out the different looks that they had per brand. And then I did like before, after, I did airport fashion during the fashion week itself. The Okay, get out of it, Fairy Lane. All right, so I'll do that next week. I'm so sorry. Uh, okay, and then this is also like a preamble. Um, so because I'm going to do a series of talking about them and their brands, like how they actually match. So we're gonna go through like why is Bottega actually perfect for RM, and uh, maybe a lot of people think that for advertisers, for advertising agencies and marketing agencies, it's like we play it by ear. We do. There's a lot of instincts involved, but also there's a science to it. As much of a science as you can expect when it comes to fashion. So we actually study like the personality of the brand. Usually that comes from the brand. Like if an advertising marketing agency comes on board and then we start a partnership, one of the first things that we ask from the brand is your brand Bible. Give us your brand Bible. So that means like your personality, your brand promise, and all of those things. So I will discuss that in the. I will do a series for each brand. So, but this let's do like an intro for that series, and then we'll do I'll do the like a complete look presentation, and I'm so sorry. I thought I worked so hard for it. I stayed up until like 3 a.m. just to get it done. Okay. Um yeah, so instincts from professionals comes from experience. True. It comes from experience, and also yeah, I guess so because we do use a lot of like historical things. Um introvert and shy are not synonymous. Many of us are public speakers and performers. Correct. Yeah. Fairy, do you have any prediction for Grammy nominations? I do, but it's not good. It's gonna piss you off. I'll do that. Okay, I'll do that next presentation. Okay, so these are our seven boys, and these are the seven brands that they actually represent. As I've said, I'm going to do a series on this. So just for everybody's memory, just to juggle everybody's memories, this is when they were announced for each of the brand that they represent: Jimin, Suga, J-Hope, RMV, Jin, and Jungkook. So of they all are still brand ambassadors of all of these brands. Okay, no everyone has renewed their contract with them, but this is when they were introduced. So most of them were actually introduced or signed by the brand 2023. Okay, let's do. Their character matches the brand they represent, correct? Okay, some benchmarks. One of the amazing things about not amazing, but one of the interesting things to know about the fashion industry is actually the domination of Louis Vuitton. So Louis Vuitton as a company is big. They actually own several companies. And it is not surprising that they actually have the biggest um, market capitalization. So market cap is their worth in the stock market. Okay, so I'm going to show you the companies owned by Louis Vuitton in a bit, but they are the most valuable company. They have the biggest market cap. Second is Hermes, which is pretty amazing because they are so exclusive. In the members only live stream, we were actually talking about, I actually asked you guys, those are in the members only live stream, who do you think among the seven boys will be perfect for Hermes? So let me know in the comment section right now. Okay, so Hermes is the second, and then Christian Dior, which is also pretty amazing because it's actually owned by Louis Vuitton, but we'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so those are the big ones, the top three. Kering is next, Montclair, Burberry, Hugo Boss. This is 2024, by the way, and Canada Goose Holdings. Those are the top ones, the most valuable. These are the companies owned by Dior. Jimin or Jin? Jimin for Hermes. Okay, let me know. Okay, so these are the companies owned by Louis Vuitton. They own a lot of things. So they own Dior, Givenchy, Bulgari, Fendi, all of those things. A lot. Tagoyer, Sephora. Oh my God. A lot of the brands that Celine, they actually own. Tiffany, they own. Low, Makeup Forever. Yeah, a lot of that. Okay. Hermes Jimin or J Hope, Hermes Taeyong or Jimin, Hermes Jin, Hermes J Hope. I guess Jimin is a that my bet was also Jimin. Because I feel like there's a certain wall. He's very friendly. He's like royal, like a king, right? There's a certain wall. He's very friendly, very down to earth, but there's certain distance from him, which is very much Hermes. Okay, so this are Sephora they own. So all of this is actually owned by Louis Vuitton. And this is the structure of their ownership. LVMH is a French multinational luxury conglomerate, and they own Christian Dior Couture. All right, Christian Dior SE is actually the holding company. So it all started with Christian Dior. So it's the holding company that controls LVMH, and LVMH actually owns majority stake of LVMH. Isn't that crazy? So technically, Christian Dior owns majority of LVMH, and LVMH owns majority of Christian Dior. It's so crazy, but that's the structure. So the holding company is Christian Dior. You can think of it that way. The holding company is Christian Dior. Under Christian Dior is LVMH, and then LVMH owns several companies, and that includes Christian Dior Couture. Okay. Okay, Jimin does do that because he is performing introvert as well. I know, right? A lot of people were actually up in arms when I said Jimin is introverted. He doesn't know it, but he's introverted. He gets his energy from being alone. He likes get being with other people though, but it spends his energy. So he needs to recharge. And I got that because several times he actually said, "I need to be alone to think." He said that several times in his different live streams. He said, I just, specifically after a concert, he said everyone was so happy and he was so happy as well, but he couldn't make sense of things and he just knew he needed to be alone. And I'm like, you're introverted, dude. You don't know it, but you're introverted. Okay. So this is the family that owns LVMH, the Arnault. Did I pronounce that correct? For those that are Europeans here, this is them. So obviously the oldest looking guy is the father, and that's the wife beside him. So he's wearing blue. The one in the middle wearing blue. And then the three guys are the sons. Okay. So the one in the extreme left wearing blue is the alleged boyfriend of Lisa. So I did not know that. Someone just told me about it. And I'm like, okay, well, good for Lisa, I guess. So he is the president of Louis Vuitton, and he's also the president of Tagoyer, I want to say. Yeah. So so that's the family. They own basically 70%, not 70%, but they own a lot of the fashion industry. Okay. So the thing about the so how big is the fashion industry? It's 1.7% of the world's GDP with an estimated value of 1.5 trillion. That's a lot for you to take 1.7% share of the global GDP. That's a lot. Not big, not as big as the oil industry, not as big as the um, steel industry, but still big. Okay, so 1.7% of the global GDP. And majority 40.5% of all global apparel sales actually happens in Asia. This is going to explain why many of the K-pop artists actually work as brand ambassadors. Now it's not just K-pop artists but also other celebrities that are starting from Asia that are starting to be signed up by brands as global ambassadors because majority of their market is coming from Asia. Asians love the European fashion, not knowing that European fashion actually take inspiration from Asian fashion. Okay. All right. Now I know that so this explains actually why personalities like Lisa of Blackpink, Jenny and Lisa of Blackpink, they actually helped sort of elevate the brands, right? Because in terms of sales, because their market is really Asia, the majority of their market. And that's where the growth came from of Chanel, Celine, all these other brands. Now, 2024, things changed a little bit, primarily because of the economic condition globally, and also because of the changing landscape in the fashion industry. For example, a lot of local brands actually started going up. So they were wise enough, these local brands, to also get sign up many of K-pop artists as brand ambassadors or local celebrities as brand ambassadors. And so they got a lot of the shares of the fashion industry, of the luxury brands in Asia. And so a lot of the fashion brands actually started experiencing decline, including Chanel. Okay, so they fell 4% for the first time last year. Now, do remember that majority of the consumers are still women. So some studies show that up to 80% of the fashion market, they're still women. Women are still the ones that are into fashion. So basically, in the advertising industry, our longstanding belief, and it hasn't failed us yet, is that men rarely shop, but they shop expensive things. So, for example, Jordans. They'll be so much into Jordans, but that's very expensive, right? But they don't care about anything else. Like, oh, they can wear whatever shirt, whatever pants. They just like Jordans. The same thing is true with belts. When they buy a belt, for example, they will buy something expensive because they want it to last for 20 years. But for 20 years, they're not going to buy anything else. So they're just use that one belt. Okay, so that's kind of the behavior of men. Okay, so that makes it even more the mere fact that, and these are the top brands, by the way. Nike is the most valuable apparel brand in the world, $13.2 billion. Next is Louis Vuitton, 13.4 billion, and then Gucci, and then Zara. Okay, so those are the ones. Now, this is important for us to understand because the mere fact that the best selling goods of the brands that BTS members represent, are the products that the members are using. It means that the female market, which is majority of the fashion industry market, is now taking a cue from men, which are BTS members. That's going to change the landscape drastically. If, for example, I think this fashion week has proven that um, the boys really sell. Like all of the things that they wore were went they it was sold out the next day in some markets. That only goes to show their sales power, right? And if you are watching, if you are the creative director and the CEO, and if you're watching, you know the next step, and that is to make them advertise female apparel. Okay. So that would mean that it's going to displace many of the female brand ambassadors. And for as old as the fashion industry is, the highest paying female brand ambassadors have always been women. But I've discussed this in the members only live stream. The big difference is that back in the day, I'm being boomered here. So back in the day, when we look at women as brand ambassadors, we don't necessarily look at sales. We're just looking at branding. So is the brand of the woman brand ambassador consistent with the the brand ambassador with the branding of the goods? But with BTS, they have suddenly proven that it doesn't just have to be about branding, it can also be about sales. So as I've shown the in the members only live stream, for example, for Dior, their best selling purses are the ones that are but that Jimin actually use regularly. He has a favorite, like two or three purses that he would constantly, and that's their best selling purse. So this is going to change the landscape. The success of BTS and the other, by the way, other brand ambassadors, K-pop brand ambassadors are successful as well. It's just that they are not as successful as BTS, but they're also successful. So this what they're doing can change the fashion industry landscape, because now brands are going to start creating products for women but ask men to advertise them. I don't know how is going to make you feel, but that's just the truth. Okay. So, biggest losses, these are the ones. This was 2021 to 2022. So, going out of the pandemic, these are the ones that actually lost a lot of money. Um, oh, people are becoming members, gifting membership. Thank you, people. So there's one who said, Team Esprit. Oh, you're now okay. Well, I hope to see you in the members only live stream. Then we have Angel Star gifting Carrie Ann. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I hope to see you in the live stream. Would be lovely to have you all there. Okay. So in the these are the ones with the greatest growth. So the other one was greatest losses, most losses, but this is the one with the greatest growth. Skechers Leaning is a female Chinese brand. Louis Vuitton, Bose, Van Cleef, Tagoyer, Fila, YSL, Celine, Moncler. Okay. So in the members only live stream, so two things. But 80% of leadership in fashion industry is male. So two things will happen. One is the series where I will be talking about BTS member and the brand that they represent. If there is any group that you want me to talk about, not necessarily BTS, just let me know and I will research it. While I still have an active contacts with my former world, in the world that I used to be in the advertising industry, let me know. And then in the members only live stream, I'm going to go through a deeper dive in the effect of BTS in the fashion week in Europe. BTS is Nikes, maybe. They don't have a partnership yet. The last sports apparel they had a partnership with as a group was Fila. So the only one with a sports, there are two members right now with a an outdoor partnership. One is outdoor brand partnership, one is Te, and then the other is Jin. So that would be, yeah, that would be it. I hope that they have at least one of them would be great for Nike, at least one. I highly doubt, they're so expensive right now. As brand ambassadors. I've actually, so in the live only, in the members only live stream, I spoke about their fees. You saw how expensive they are, right? So imagine getting all seven. How much do you need to spend to get all of them? Holy crap. So yeah. Which brand do you think goes perfect with Cortez? Which brand do I think? I love this, guys. Cortez, I think casual brands in the beginning. I think luxury brands should be later for them, but definitely casual brands like Converse, hip brands. Um, what's that? Seven for Humanity? Is that what it's called? That would be perfect for them. Fun brands like that. What fees? Their talent fees, like how much they're getting paid to be brand ambassadors. I discussed it in the members only live stream. And yeah, vintage Jesus. I would like Stray Kids, specifically Felix. Okay, I'll do Stray Kids and their branding. BTS used to do Supreme. What happened? Did they do Supreme? Question. I noticed Les Seraphim doesn't attend fashion weeks in Europe. Do you think it's just schedule conflict or just label marketing management decision? I think they haven't secured. I think they're being strategic with Les Seraphim right now because they're in the cusp of a breakthrough in the West. So I think they're being careful on who the girls are going to sign with. Um, but I think we're going to see some movement in the first quarter of next year, if not this last quarter. Um, yeah. So someone Jungkook is always wearing Nike. Yeah. So Jungkook would be actually be perfect for Nike, but I want him for more adventurous kind of brands because he's the one that is actually into adventures, right? He's fearless. He would do like bungee jumping or something. So I think extreme brands would fit him more. But yeah, for Cordy, something fun in the beginning. Converse, seven. Is that seven for mankind or something like that? Supreme probably, but yeah, brands like that. And then set luxury brands for later. I was imagining Cabbage Patch dolls for BTS. Tiny Tan, maybe. Red Bull ambassadorship. They're in the US. They have like a lot of activities in the US. JK for Colombia. Colombia would be perfect for JK. Um, I actually just mentioned this in the last members only live stream. Harley Davidson, I think would be perfect for him. Um, yeah, extremes like that. North Face. North Face is also good. What's this Japanese brand for outdoors? Yeah, things like that would be great for Nike ambassadorship has been rumored for years. A BTS sneaker has always been rumored. This has been another great live. Thank you. Yep, North Face for JK. Okay. So thank you so much everybody for spending time with me. I'm sorry. I really thought I uploaded the right slides. It was a wrong slide. I'm sorry. I'll do it next week, promise. I worked so hard for it. Anyway, okay. So I'll do that next time. We'll go through the brand ambassadors. So ambassador brand partnerships. So there is a series coming up for their brand partnerships. And then I will continue the series for misinformation. And then I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you all so much. I just want to let you all know that you are helping me cope with my own mental health battles. So that was actually one of the reasons RM's live stream actually resonated so much, so strongly with me because I'm going through the same thing. And I'm trying to be a little bit more like him, be more aware and actually know how to deal with it. And so it's for everybody who's going through the same thing, please take after RM. He's really helpful. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye. Good night.